been as nasty a game as you can remember between these two teams? Very chippy.
Who dat? Who dey? They the team that just lost to the Steelers on Sunday. Boy!
Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome to The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash. The Steelers beat the Cincinnati Bengals 33-20 on Sunday. The Bengals got beat up. They lost Andy Dalton for, an extended period of time, we'll call it, because there's no official report yet. Some people were saying the regular season and he could be back for the playoffs. Some people were saying the entire season. All I've heard officially from the Bengals and from Andy Dalton is that he will be seeing a specialist today. But Ryan Fitzpatrick played with, was it torn ligaments in his thumb? So I don't know the difference in the pain tolerance thing for a fracture. I'll have to talk to Brandon about it. But you would think if Fitzpatrick can play with a similar injury, Dalton would be able to stick it out in the playoffs. Rest him for now.
Well, I don't even think the injuries are that similar. Just because they're to the same spot on the body doesn't make them similar.
Thing. Man
but
up, dude.
The Sindine called it, man. He said, let's see how healthy Cincinnati is after this game.
Yeah, they're not healthy at all.
It was true. And your boy, LGG Stylo trademark Boost Mobile user HD said, Cincy will die. December football is Big Ben football.
Please believe, although he had no touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, he didn't have the biggest game in the world. And really, the offense, I know the team scored 33 points or whatever, but they left a ton of points out there. They scored on their first drive of the game, and really, that was the best drive of the game. And it was nice to see them go out there, get that first touchdown after that scrum early in the game or whatever you want to call it.
Game.
Yeah, but on that drive there, they converted 3 third downs. Wheaton had a 31-yard reception on a 3rd and 2. Miller had a 10-yard reception on a 3rd and 7. And Brown had a 19-yard reception down to the 1-yard line on a 3rd and 3. That ended with the Williams touchdown run to make it 7-0. But after that, they didn't put the ball in the end zone until the final drive of the game when the defense helped them out with the Robert Golden interception at the 16-yard line.
What was Boswell, 4 for 4?
4 for 4.
And solid on his extra points? All of them? Dude's beast.
Yeah, he's beast mode.
Listen,
I like him better than Swisham myself.
Yeah, because he's younger and got a stronger leg, it looks like. And that's not hating on Swisham at all.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Swisham too, but I just think this guy is
younger and
on track. I mean, he's on point every time.
I think the best thing the Steelers offense did against Cincinnati was holding the ball for basically 35 minutes. It kept the Bengals offense off the field. I know A.J. McCarron was out there, not Andy Dalton, but even with Andy Dalton out there, that limited time they would have had, they wouldn't have had enough possessions or enough chances to score a lot of points. That's kind of the recipe for success for Pittsburgh, and they've been controlling the clock a lot lately. They've been leading most of these games in times of possession. The Seattle game, I think they did lead in time of possession, but it was those costly turnovers that really put them in a bad position and ended that game for them.
Yeah, really, I'm not completely frustrated with the offense here. You look, they had 9 possessions, and they did turn that into 6 scoring drives against one of the best defenses in football. I told you coming into this game, this defense allowed the least points in football. So they went out there and still put up, without that defensive touchdown, 26 points. And like I said, they punted twice. One of those were a 3-and-out, and they threw a pick. And the pick really wasn't a big deal because it was down at the 4-yard line, and it would have made them have to drive, 96 yards. But
the same as a punt inside the 5.
The defense came up big anyway, mostly because A.J. McCarron was in the game.
The offense has scored in 17 consecutive quarters. That is the second longest streak for the Steelers. They did it in 20 quarters in 1997. So it'll be interesting to see if they can score a point in all 4 quarters this week against Denver to take that record. Not that it really matters.
Look, against the last defense you want to play to try to set this record too, although the record's stupid.
Right.
But, yeah, going up against Denver's defense, that's going to be really tough because they're definitely one of the best defenses in football. And if you ask me, not just by the numbers, I would say they're better than the Bengals defense.
DeAngelo Williams didn't have a lot of yards, but I thought he had some good runs and a lot of, just keeping the chains moving. Not necessarily converting on 3rd down, but just getting us that 6-7 yard run when we really needed it. He looked real patient behind the line. And, I keep wanting to say the offense struggled, but they just struggled in the red zone, really. They just didn't punch it into the end zone like they had done the week before. When you go 4 for 4 in the week before this game, you kind of feel like you're going to get that rolling, and that was a little bit of a drop-off. But Heath Miller looked good again, coming back off the rib injury. He had 10 targets, 10 catches, 66 yards. Antonio Brown got his record, right? Martavis Bryant had a few drops.
Record. It's not a record anymore, man.
Well, he started it again.
Whatever. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, the offense doing fine, but a couple mistakes is really what changed it. On that first field goal drive of theirs to make it 10-0, you remember Brown had that crackback block to make it 1st and 25. That pretty much stalls the drive. On their next field goal drive, Martavis Bryant missed that deep ball in the end zone, and you turned to me and said, is that going to affect this game in any way? Is that going to be a deciding factor? And then that drive actually ended on a sack as well. And then down at the very end of the half there, the first half, Antonio Brown made that catch, and it looked like he had the first down, and then he went backwards a couple yards and reached forward, and they didn't give him forward progress on that play, and that ended the drive there. So just fix a couple things here, and you can get into the end zone. But like I said, I'm not down on this offense in any way.
No, Cincy's defense is good.
Yeah, exactly. But I also want to see them go out there and convert these field goals into touchdowns more. But you're right, Heath Miller came up huge in this game. He converted 3 first downs in third down situations in this game. Again, 10 receptions this game, 10 receptions the last time they played. So he has 20 receptions on the season versus Cincinnati. By far his 2 biggest games of the season. But Jesse James, not even involved in the action in this game.
Yeah, I mean, when Heath's playing as well as he is, you're not really going to get a whole lot of reps out of James. And Spaeth technically is the backup tight end because he's a better blocker. So I think that's why they like Jesse James way better as a receiver. That's why you won't see Spaeth start when Heath's hurt, but he's also not going to be number 2 because his blocking is a little bad.
Again, sort of the same thing out of Bryan. He came up with 7 catches for 49 yards, but he also had that drop in the end zone, obviously. But it could have been called pass interference, too, because the defender was pulling his arm down. And really, the referees were pretty much garbage in this game. There was a lot of calls on the Steelers' defense in this game. 15 yards here, 30 yards here on pass interference, 15 yards here.
They were all fired up from the beginning of the game.
Antonio Brown, yeah, what do you have, 7 for 87? He made some mistakes in this game, though. He could have got tossed on the second play of the game when he's out there throwing punches. And that could have been terrible for this Steelers offense, obviously. And like I said, the crackback block, I don't know if you really want to say it's his fault or anything, but that stalled a drive like I was saying before. So, I don't know. Antonio Brown, a couple mistakes in this game. Not really a big game out of Ben, Brown, Bryant. Wheaton came up and played pretty well, though. What you want to get out of him, 4 catches, 65 yards.
Nice catches, too.
Most of that came on 1 catch, 31 yards, and that was on the first drive of the game. But he stayed involved all game, and he didn't make any mistakes, so I like what I see out of him. I just want to see more out of Brown and Bryant.
I don't like the play call when you're leading with Ben Roethlisberger as your lead blocker on the reverse or end around. I don't remember what it was. I think Bryant had it, and Ben had to dive at somebody's legs. Ben's coming off knee injuries and stuff. I'm not hating on reverses or whatever, but I don't know. Leave Heath in there or let somebody else leak out. You don't use Ben Roethlisberger as your lead blocker on an end around. Speaking
of diving at Ben's legs.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm hearing perfect here. Dove at his legs. You showed me the play. I'm not going to say anything like he meant to do it on purpose or anything. I'm sure Cincinnati thinks that Kimo von Oelhoffen rolled up on Carson Palmer, and the truth is Kimo von Oelhoffen didn't mean to do that, and there's no evidence here to say Burfict did that on purpose, so I'm not going to dive into that and say that was a dirty play or anything.
Hey, Ben said it at the beginning of the episode, man. Chippy.
Yeah, no one's perfect.
The Bengals are beat up, though. They need a week to rest. Who do they play? The Browns next week? They better hope.
You look, when Andy Dalton was in, they drove straight down the field on that first drive of the game. Stephon Tuitt came up with a big interception.
That was a great play. I forgot about that.
Dalton went to make the tackle there, and that's when he got hurt. So there's nothing dirty about hurting Andy Dalton or anything.
Ouch,
but
guys.
They drove straight down the field. Look, that drive began at the 10-yard line. On the very first play, 17 yards to A.J. Green. They followed that up with 18 yards to Eifert, and on top of that, there was a 15-yard penalty because Mike Mitchell was called for a hit on a defenseless player, you remember.
Damn defenseless players.
Jeremy Hill had a 12-yard run. That was pretty much all he did in this game. Eifert had another 24-yard reception, and that came right before the Tuitt interception. But you look, Tyler Eifert in this game had 42 yards on that first drive, and he didn't come back after this first drive either. So they lost two of their biggest weapons. I mean, there's A.J. Green, then there's Andy Dalton and Tyler Eifert, and they lost two of those in that first drive. So really, Cincinnati can hang their hat on that and say it could have been different if Andy Dalton was in the game because...
Hey, the way I see it is the Steelers just found the recipe for success against the Bengals. Just hurt all the good players.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, isn't that how you beat them?
I don't think you want to do it that way now.
Oh. All right, man. Well, if it's accidental, I'm not saying you go out and do it on purpose. You accidentally hurt all their good players, then they lose. Haha.
What do you think about A.J. McCarron? He was 22 of 32, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Johnny Manziel completed passes against his defense. I ain't worried about it. A.J. McCarron may someday develop into something, but they're already talking to Ryan Mallett and Christian Ponder in case Dalton does miss time. That's not to say they would start in front of McCarron because he knows the offense or whatever, but they don't. If they're trying to bring in a veteran, not just bringing somebody up from the practice squad, they obviously don't really believe in him a lot, I guess I would say. He may be able to keep it going. What do they have, 4 games left, 3 games left?
3.
If they go 2-1, they're lucky. If they go 0-3, they're going to lose the division.
Most likely. But look, he had that 66-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Green, and outside of that, he really didn't do much. At the end of the game there, he did put together an 80-yard drive when the defense pretty much backed off and really wasn't playing at that point.
Do you know Tomlin said he doesn't care about how many yards they give up in passing yards on defense?
I mean, if you're not putting the ball in the end zone, why would you care?
Yeah, he said as long as we get the timely turnovers, he really doesn't care.
But really, why I say if Andy Dalton was in there, it definitely could have been a different game. You got to at least admit that because the pick 6 at halftime was really the backbreaker. That made it 23-7 in that time. And though Andy Dalton would have made his mistakes in that game, I don't think he'd have made that stupid of a pass for Willie Gay to take it straight into the end zone. And then there, after Big Ben's interception down to the 4-yard line, a pick that really didn't hurt. But I do want to mention real quick, Reggie Nelson, 8 picks, leading the league so far. I really like that guy. I wish he played for Pittsburgh, to tell you the truth. But right after that, A.J. McCarron comes out. He could, I mean, at that point, it was 26-13. So if Andy Dalton's in there and they put the drive together and make it 26-20, it's a whole new ball game. But instead, A.J. McCarron goes out and throws a pick to Robert Golden. He returns it to the 16-yard line, and then Pittsburgh goes down and scores immediately to go up, 33-13 at that point. So that's a huge swing there as well. So it could have turned out differently, especially if Eifert was healthy too. If Dalton and Eifert were both in his game, because like I said, 42 yards on the first drive from Eifert, it looked like he was going to have a big game.
The good thing is the defense did not allow a rushing touchdown again. They have not allowed one in 8 of the 13 games this season and have only allowed 4 on the year. That's how the Steelers play defense, man. All those years where we won Super Bowls, we shut down the run. Now, we did do a lot better against the pass. I'm not saying we were always 29th against the pass. But if you're not allowing anybody to run the football, especially not into the end zone, the easiest, I don't know if I want to say the easiest, the best way to score in the red zone is to run it. It's the least risk that you have. When you're a quarterback and you're in the red zone, it gets harder because the defense has less area they actually have to defend and you have tighter windows you got to fit that football into. So if you can be successful running into the end zone, running in the red zone, you're a much better team. And for us to be able to shut that down, it's going to make it hard for teams to beat us, especially if the offense doesn't turn the football over a lot.
Yeah, and I heard yesterday that Cincinnati is actually 29-0 when they run the ball 30 times or more. And between Bernard and Hill in this game, they had 13 carries. Hill just 7 carries for 16 yards. So, like I said, he had that 12-yard run. That's all he did in this game. He did nothing. But Bernard, he looked pretty good. They need to get him the ball more. 6 carries, 40 yards, 3 receptions, 21 yards. He was outside of A.J. Green. Like we said, you can let A.J. Green do what he wants, and you can still beat the Cincinnati Bengals. He had 6 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. But Bernard was making plays too, and they just weren't giving him the ball enough. He was breaking off chunks of yardage.
The Steelers have 13 interceptions this year. That's 6th most in the NFL and the most since they've had since 2010 when they had 21.
And 3 games remaining.
Yep. Only 7 teams have more return TDs than the Steelers, too. Get those points. You know Pittsburgh's won at least 8 games 12 years in a row now? Second longest streak in the NFL.
As long as Big Ben's been there because they've won at least 8. Yeah. I know.
It's awesome.
It's beast mode. What do you think about the Bengals moving forward, though?
They're obviously still going to make the playoffs. I mean, I guess if they lost all three, there might be some scenario where they don't. I didn't go look it all up. I don't really care to look it all up. Without Andy Dalton, though, they're in a heap of trouble. And I know Dalton always plays bad in December in the playoffs or whatever, but he's their only chance. I mean, McCarron, they have playmakers around him and stuff, but it's just not going to happen without Andy Dalton being there. And that's not even saying great things about him. It's just A.J. McCarron's not ready. The Bengals were scoring points, man. I mean, they were up there with Carolina and most points scored in the league. If I'm the Bengals and I know I can get them healthy 100% by the playoffs by resting them 3 weeks, I don't even care. I'm resting them the 3 weeks because you got to make the playoffs and you got to win in the playoffs, and you're not going to win in the playoffs without Dalton if you're the Bengals.
Yeah, I think so too. A.J. McCarron, he sort of reminds me of Landry Jones. He came up with a couple big plays there. Obviously, the 66-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Green.
Did they play at the same school?
But he also made some stupid mistakes. One pick six and another one right after your defense turns the ball over. You go right back out there and turn it over yourself. So, sort of reminds me of Landry.
They did not go to the same school. McCarron is from Bama. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
I hate Bama.
Bama running back won the Heisman, correct?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even pay attention.
I believe so.
I do agree with your comparison between the two, though. They even actually kind of look the same. But you're not... It's tough when you're a backup quarterback and you're a young guy. This is McCarron's only second year in the league. You know, he's had 1 year in the offense, and it's not like he got any game reps, really. He's always had preseason reps and practice reps, and you know he's not getting first-team reps. Now he is, so we're going to have to see. But it's similar to what Landry and Vic were trying to do. If he doesn't turn the ball over a lot, the Bengals can still win games with him in there for the rest of the year. And probably not in the playoffs, but at least in the regular season. They don't have a very hard schedule. They got to run the ball. What was your stat earlier? They're freaking 1,000,000-0 when they run the ball 30 times. Do that. I mean, come on. You got two beast running backs. They should have been trying to run the ball more anyway. The Steelers weren't even that far ahead. They could have run the ball a little bit more.
16-7 at halftime. And then they threw that pick six right out of halftime to make it 23-7, the backbreaker there.
It's like they followed the Andy Dalton game plan with A.J. McCarron. Come on, coaches. Marvin Lewis, Hugh Jackson. Mix it up a little. So where's this sit the Steelers' playoff positioning? Nothing's really changed because
Jets and KC both won.
Yeah, so now if Pittsburgh wins out and Cincinnati loses out, we can win the division, but that's pretty much the only way. There's too many tiebreakers.
A couple more teams falling farther behind, like the Bills and the Houston. Texans, Indy. You're looking at the Jaguars possibly jumping up and winning that division.
They're only one game out of the division lead, and they just put 51 on the Colts yesterday.
It would be hilarious.
Be ridiculous. Blake Bortles in the playoffs. People are clamoring about the seeding again. They're mad because whoever wins the South is going to host a playoff game. I could care less. If Pittsburgh had to travel to Indy, Houston, or Jacksonville, would you really be that worried about it?
No. I mean, the only team I'd be worried about traveling to is maybe Denver this week. We'll see what happens with that, but New England as well. I mean, that's always
but we
tough.
won't see them in the first round.
Right.
First round matchups were either going to be Cincinnati or... I mean, Denver could be a possibility, or it could be that other 4 matchup. But I could care less even if we had to go to Cincinnati. I'm not that worried about it. We just proved that we can go in there and win. But Pittsburgh needs to win out, and I know they don't need to win out to get in. But there's just the Jets and the Chiefs, man. They're just playing good football.
Yeah, I think the Jets are going to lose a game or two here.
They
over
still
the
got
next
the
3
Patriots,
weeks.
yeah.
But the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, they got an easy schedule moving forward.
7 straight victories.
Yeah, and did it start with Pittsburgh?
Yeah, when they were 1-5.
Yeah. And I mean, we picked Pittsburgh to go out there and beat them with Landry Jones.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen.
Beat us down.
Yep.
Player of the game?
Player of the game. Offensively, no one did that great. I'm going to give it to Heath Miller. 10 receptions again. Come up with big third down receptions to keep the sticks moving. Got to go with Heath Miller, I guess, man. Although D'Angelo Williams, not too bad either.
I'm going to give it to Alejandro Villanueva. This guy has stepped up at the left tackle position. If you ask me, he's basically made Kelvin Beachum expendable next year, and I doubt they're going to offer Beachum a contract now coming off the injury. I think Villanueva's played well enough that at $900,000 I think he makes this year, they're willing to go in with him, progressing. He's kept Ben upright. He got hurt. He got dinged up a little bit, came out of the game, came right back into the game. This guy is literally a warrior. I mean, he literally drugged people out of a firefight while live fire is flying at him. He did not care. So he's never going to say die for the Steelers. He's going to give everything he has to give, and he's a massive man.
The offensive line as a whole has been playing very well recently. Like I said, 2 sacks in this game. One of those was a coverage sack.
Right.
And over the previous 2 games, I think they allowed 2 sacks total, and they both came in the same game. But Big Ben, 39 attempts in this game, over 50 2 games ago, over 40 the following game maybe, or just under 40.
2 starters out.
So they're
still
passing
playing well.
a ton, and they're keeping him upright.
Ben gets rid of the ball a lot faster than he used to, too. Sometimes he still doesn't, but for the most part.
Yeah, it was
But they're
funny when everybody here jumped up and was like so excited over Heath Miller gaining 1 yard when Big Ben was going down and he like flipped it to Heath Miller. It was
that was
hilarious.
awesome, dude.
I've never seen a whole room get so excited over nothing.
Hey, that was awesome. You see, they're still being pretty secretive about the Pouncey injury. He is getting better, and there is a possibility he'll be back with this team for the playoffs. Tomlin's being very coy about it, though.
Cody Wallace, not a bad fill-in though. I mean, he's been doing his job.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if we still had Cody Wallace through the playoffs. I really wouldn't.
I wouldn't
it almost
either.
might hurt if Pouncey comes back. We'll have to see how healthy he is. You know
I
what I
wouldn't
mean?
say it hurts, but I mean the way they're rolling right now, you don't want to mess with that.
Right. If he's not 100% healthy, I don't bring him back. And I'm talking, you know what I mean? Not 95 even. And unless the trainers are like, dude, you're completely healthy. There's no risk at all. There's not even a pain tolerance issue. Then let him play. But if not, they're playing well enough. Just keep rolling with it.
Defensive player of the game.
Lawrence Timmons, 8 tackles. Another quiet day. But quietly good. This guy has just been good all year long.
Oh, Cam Hayward had a big sack to end the drive. I know he had a pass batted down.
Yeah.
Stephon Tua came up with a big interception that looked like
Hilarious
Cincinnati
interception.
was going to come right back down and tie that game there. Willie Gay, the pick six, you could give it to him, obviously. And Robert Golden making a big interception as well, right after a Big Ben pick.
This defense is just playing good.
I'm going to go with Willie Gay.
There you
5
go.
straight pick sixes now. His last 5 interceptions, albeit a span of 3 seasons.
Hey, that's all right.
Yeah,
That's 5
whatever.
more than Ike Taylor ever got.
He never had a pick six?
I don't know. I didn't think he ever had a pick.
Oh, he had
I
a
figured
pick.
they had to just tape it to his chest for him to be able to catch it. Biggest liability of the week?
Antonio Brown almost got himself kicked out of the game 2 plays in. And he made some stupid mistakes. He had a couple personal fouls called against him as well. And that crackback block didn't get into the end zone like we want to see him do.
Todd Haley for making Ben Roethlisberger a lead blocker on any play.
There
And
you
maybe
go.
Joey Porter for crawling out onto the field like a complete ass after the Willie Gay interception. That is the one thing. Gay showed off a little too much after the play. That was a pretty ridiculous celebration. Other than that, I got no beef. It really wasn't. I mean, like you said, Antonio Brown didn't play great, but there wasn't anybody who really made big mistakes on the team this week.
Yeah, Bryant missed a touchdown catch. That's about it.
Is he almost a disappointment? Not a disappointment. Has he had like a little bit of a disappointing season?
Yeah, still young. I thought he'd be on the same page as Big Ben this season, but they still
Struggling a
not
little.
the chemistry still isn't there, I guess you'd say, but it's getting there. He'll be around, and he's going to be a huge player moving forward.
As long as Willie Gay keeps taking pick sixes to the house, we're good. Tied Rod Woodson for most return TDs for the Steelers with 5. When you're tying Rod Woodson, you're damn good.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous.
I know, it's crazy. If he gets another one, I'll give you $1. Anything else for the fans?
That's about it.
That's all we got, fans. Cincinnati, down a quarterback. Pittsburgh, up a game. The Steelers need to keep winning. Let's hope it keeps going. Fans, any questions, comments, follow us on Twitter, bet_the_spread. Follow me on Twitter at BetJimTheWin. Keep checking out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. We got a like on that this week. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. 219 subscribers, I think. We're blowing up this week.